Hi people. Hi people. Hi, my name is Rebecca and I've been wanting to do a YouTube video for a really long time and just haven't had the guts to do it. So I just thought, woke up this morning, went for a run, did my little workout, and now thought, okay, now or never, just do it. You can always redo it. And so yeah, I just wanted to talk about who I am, introduce myself, and tell you guys what I'm a little bit about. I'm a yoga teacher. I've been teaching for 2 years in Berlin. Actually over 2 years. So I was just in the park and now I feel like all these bugs are crawling around. Yeah, so I've been teaching Kundalini yoga for about 2.5 years. Started when I was 17. I'm 25 right now. Yeah, it was like a bumpy ride at the start. A lot of people asked like, how did you get into it? I said, yeah, my mom introduced it to me and she became a teacher, and at the beginning she didn't have many students. So I wanted to support her and ended up just going to a lot of her classes and hating it at the start. I really didn't like it. I thought it was so weird, especially Kundalini yoga. Many people haven't even heard of it. It's growing now. Very different in the sense that it's got a lot of spirituality to it. It's a lot about energetics. It's a lot about yourself. You have to deal with yourself a lot. So you're closing your eyes a lot of the time. Yeah, your traumas, emotions, stuff that you don't always think about comes up during the exercises, during the breath work, during the meditation. If you were to compare it, I know you shouldn't compare things usually, but if you just were to, like, if you go to a vinyasa class and you go to a Kundalini class, you'll get a very different effect or result afterwards. You can feel completely low after a Kundalini class because you just work through so much emotional trauma in the body, emotions that have been stored in you for a very long time in different organs. For example, you can research that anger is stored in the liver. So when you work on your liver and you detoxify your liver, a lot of anger can just come up and it's unresolved, things that have happened in the past, so stuff like that. And I didn't know this as a 17-year-old. I just thought, why are we chanting? why do people have to wear white? Why is my back hurting so much? I have to sit cross-legged for such a long time. Very intense for me at 17. I really didn't like it. I was like dreading it every time I went. I was like, oh, I'm just doing it for you, mom. And it paid out. Like, I became slowly addicted to it because I could see results after a couple months. Obviously, I mean, I was doing physical work on my body, but yeah, the stretching really helped. I could sit longer in the certain poses. Didn't like the meditations at this beginning. I was always trying to like, oh, okay, finally meditation is coming. Now it's gonna end in about 11 minutes. Then the class is over, because you always have an 11-minute meditation at the end. And so yeah, I was just kind of always waiting. Okay, I really enjoyed the physical part of it, but I didn't enjoy the whole spiritual chanting, meditation, all the stuff that came with it. It wasn't my vibe at the start. And then at 20, yeah, when I turned 20, I left to South Africa. I am South African, and I was like, okay, cool. We were living in Berlin, and I was like, cool, I want to study. I want to see what it's like to go back to my roots. So I went to an art school in Cape Town, but sadly the city just wasn't for me. I met amazing people and I love all of them dearly, but it was still a very dark time in my life. I'd say I fell into quite a deep depression there. It was the first time I had ever been really far away from home, from Berlin. My parents were still here in Berlin. My sister was here as well, and all my friends in Europe. Yeah, I was 20, felt like a new culture, even though we'd gone there for every holiday that we could, but I'd never been there on my own, trying to figure out how to get from A to B. Very different in many ways, but also many beautiful ways. It's a city that I love. So I always visited. My sister lives there now, but yeah, it wasn't for me at the time. At 20, maybe it was just too young. But anyway, my really big low brought up a really big high in Cape Town. As I was going through my big depression, I went back to a Kundalini yoga studio. I was starting to practice at home as well and just do what I needed to do to keep myself sane. Sometimes I just skipped out the meditations and I was like, whatever, I'm not in a class right now, my mom's not watching, I can do whatever I want. So I just kind of like did whatever I wanted. I skipped the meditations, didn't do the deep relaxations, didn't tune in. I was living in with a roommate, so I just kind of did the physical part of it. And then I kept on talking to my mom and she's like, you can't miss out all the other stuff, it's all one thing, you know? So I just tried, maybe cut down the time for the meditation and stuff, but still give it a go, do the whole thing and not half. So I did, and I kept to it, and then I just realized, okay, I really want to go back to a class. I went to a Kundalini yoga class at the coolest studio in Cape Town called Guru Ram Das. So if you ever go there, you have to visit the studio. It's beautiful. And we started tuning in. We always tune in with the mantra, and I just immediately started crying. It was just hot tears running down my face, and all I wanted to do was go home because I was feeling so low and so didn't have a lot of self-worth at that time. I didn't really know who I was, what I was doing, who I wanted to be. Yeah, all the 20-year-old questions that kind of happened. And after the class, so I cried my eyes out throughout the whole class. Afterwards, felt so liberated. I felt so free and clear in my mind and in my body. I was just like, I made a promise right before we left the classroom. I sat there and I closed my eyes and I made myself promise, you have to incorporate this into your daily routine. If you want to be a happy person, you have to incorporate this into your life full time. So I made a commitment to myself on that day, and obviously it didn't start the next day. I continued there and on and off doing yoga with myself, like in my room, in my dorm, and it just kept growing. It was like, okay, it's keeping me sane, it's keeping me sane. Every time I felt down or low, I'd return back to the yoga, return back to meditation, and yeah, it helped me in so many ways. It kept me grounded. My head was so full with ideas and thoughts and like where I should be doing, where I should be going. I decided to quit uni because it was just not getting better. Like yoga helped, gave me clarity, like, okay, I don't want to stay here. It's not my city. Go back home and see what I can do there. So I made the big decision, dropped out of uni, and my parents were like, okay, but when you drop out and you come back home, have a plan. That's the only thing they said. They supported me fully, and they were like, do what you need to do, but just have a plan. So I was like, okay, cool, what should I do? What should I do? Should I study again? What should I do? And I was like, I don't know if I want to study again, but I really want to go down this yoga path, and I really want to become a teacher. So I came back, found a school. It took me about 6 months to find the school that I wanted to go to. Training course in Berlin. At first I was like, should I go to India? Because I feel like everyone's going to India. And then it's like, no, that's so much money. Like, I don't have the money to go. I mean, and the course in Berlin was expensive enough. I think I paid 2,500 euro for a year's course, and I paid it by myself. I worked simultaneously and paid it off in rates. My mentor was really kind, and I could do it monthly rates, and it felt so cool to just do it by myself, know that, okay, I'm putting money to this is my own education. And I think when your parents, for me, this is just my personal thing, when my parents paid for my education in Cape Town, I felt even more guilty for not enjoying the studies because it wasn't my money being put into it. So having been able to pay my own teacher's training course, I was so much more ready to finish it. And I have a problem with finishing projects. That's just a thing of mine. I start 5 million things at the same time, and then I don't finish them. I managed it way better and way quicker. So I finished it, and it was such a cool experience. I met so many amazing people on the journey. At the end of the course, we went to an ashram, which is a spiritual house. One of the teachers who was taught by, so Kundalini was brought to the West by a guy named Yogi Bhajan. He taught a lot of students who became teachers, and this was in the 60s, so these teachers are quite old now. We call them the originals because they were directly under Yogi Bhajan. Yeah, so there was one teacher called, his name's Shiv, and he lives in Portugal. And so for the last week of the teacher's training, we went to Portugal, and it was probably the most intense out of the whole teacher's training. Like, it was a week living in this ashram, shared spaces, and then every morning we had to wake up at 5:30 was our first yoga session, and that's when you do 2.5 hours of yoga and meditation. Sounds like a lot. It is a lot. Sometimes you fall asleep. You're like so tired, but afterwards you just feel amazing, especially if you do it in a group. It's called sadhana. Sadhana can vary. Sadhana can be from the 2.5 hours, or just your own personal practice of waking up at 6 and doing your half an hour meditation or 20-minute meditation. Whatever you feel like, that's sadhana. Sadhana is just your ritual that you start bringing into your life to help you. So it always changes for me. I can't stick to one thing only. Anyway, this introduction is getting really long. So let me get to it. So anyway, I finished my course. I was like immediately ready to start teaching. I was just like, I'm on it. I want to go teach. I want to teach. So I just wrote to studios in Berlin, and I was like, please, I just finished my training. I'd really love to start teaching. I think if I look back to it, no one got back to me. No one. The way that I started teaching was substitution. And so I started substituting for my mom at a studio where she's still at, and then through friends who had just done their teacher's training before. And so I was kind of traveling all around the city to just go to different classes classes to teach and just gain more and more experience. Oh yeah, I got onto the list of one studio to always be a substitute. So not only just for my mom, but for anyone who couldn't teach that day, then I could jump in. And that was kind of becoming my go-to, because there were a lot of teachers at one point who were sick or on holiday. So I kind of got quite a few slots there. And then there were just another school that came in and I taught for them, but pay was so bad. That's one thing that is really insane, that the yoga pay is abysmal. I was like, geez, how can anyone live off of this? It's really hard work. Like, either you're breaking your back to make ends meet, but yeah, just for, if you don't know what yoga teachers earn, just know that you're giving such physical work and so much energetic work to class. Pay at the end is not the best. So I don't know if you've ever walked out of class and been mad at a teacher or whatever, just remember they're still doing this because they love it so much. Yeah, I don't know, I just respect so many teachers for taking this path, because it isn't the path of, you can obviously earn a lot of money, but it's not a path of you wanting to become rich. That's how I see it. Maybe there are some. There are Instagram influencers who are yoga teachers who are coining it, but I think when you initially start out as a yoga teacher, your first is just like, okay, I want to learn how to teach well. At least this is for me. I can't actually say to speak for anyone else. I just started substituting a lot. One of my best friends, her father has a space in Berlin, and he offered the space to me for once a week, and I was able to teach there once a week for about over a year, which was insane. It was so cool, and I'm so grateful for it. To teach in a beautiful space. Sadly, it wasn't in the best location, like there was no walk-by sort of place. It never really filled up, but I was also really bad at marketing. I was still 22. Yeah, I think I was 22, 23 maybe. 23 probably. And so yeah, at first I just wanted to get really good at teaching, and I didn't really focus on the whole marketing aspect and getting myself out there and making flyers. And this was before Urban Sports or any of these like online booking things. Super scared to still get myself out there properly, like flyers and create a website. I didn't even have a website. Yeah, I was just like really off the bat, like bam. So then, I think I just worked through my Facebook. That's all I did. I worked through my Facebook, trying to get students and people interested. Yeah, it was all a big process. It was so much confidence and courage to put myself out there like that, and it still is. I like doing this right now, a YouTube video. It scares the shit out of me. I'm super scared of people's judgment, and that's what's been holding me off from doing more work like this, even though I really want to. I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel, but yeah, it's so scary. It's so scary to know that people are gonna judge you pretty harshly on the internet. You gotta be careful with what you say and also not care that much, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna learn after this video. I feel that right now, I'm gonna edit so much out of this video. So yeah, right now I am teaching at a studio full-time, and close to where I live, and don't say that. The Wild Wide Web. Yeah, I'm teaching full-time at a studio in Berlin. I also do the social media for it, and it's kind of growing organically. I'm doing the social media also for my mom and her yoga business, and I'm kind of building on that right now. Never really done any social media work professionally, but I'm getting into it, and it's actually really fun. Teaching myself a lot, constantly teaching myself more about spirituality, energetics, self-healing, self-work, body improvement, healing, health, nutrition, like everything basically. Yeah, right now I've gone really deeply into breath, so that's what I'm incorporating a lot into my classes, is breathing, which I am so obsessed with. If you find yourself in Berlin, look me up, look up where my classes are. Come join a breath class, because they are insane. Not that just because I teach them, it's just learning to consciously breathe changes everything. Everything. Maybe I'll do a video just about breath work. That's about all I gotta say. It's already a really long video as my first one. I gotta edit a shit ton and put it all together nicely. My biggest thing right now is, because it's ever evolving. It's not like you just learn one yoga and then you stick to it forever. Like, you kind of, in my eyes, you have to change with the times. I'm teaching Kundalini yoga, but I'm adding breath now more into it, getting the gong into it. I want people to be able to come to my classes even though they've never even heard of Kundalini, and that's all I want to do. That's really what my goal is, that people can come into my class feeling whatever they feel and leave feeling amazing, light and free. That is my goal. That is my focus. And if you don't feel like it, we can always talk about it afterwards. I'm really open to talking to my students. I love getting to know more about each individual and what they're going through and how the yoga can help, or meditation or breath. Happily always give tips and tricks and what I think could help. And yeah, that's what I love doing. So thank you for the support on Instagram to make me actually do this video. Very excited for the responses and to see if I'm gonna continue. As I said, it's a scary platform. With the help of you guys, I could create some cool content. Who knows? Thinking about doing a whole workout video thing and breath work and yoga and a few topics we can talk about. Let me know what you'd like to hear more about.